Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakel nir b'dvari.
Amen.
L'chaim Chevra. We are holding chapter 9, new chapter. We're trucking right along, and as we get more knowledgeable, the chapters will flow. Unless we get to a really deep concept, we'll have to stop and explain. But we're going to start covering some ground. Starting in chapter 12 and 13, the chapters get a little bit long, but these are very, very interesting parts of Tanya. The end of Tanya gets very esoterical, so it gets a little bit more difficult. But this is really, as they say in Yiddish, the geschmacka stuff, the juicy stuff that you could really apply to your day-to-day life. Okay, so we have the nefesh elokis, and if I'm using too many Hebrew terms, please interrupt me.
Go Yiddish.
Yiddish, right? But the problem isn't the Yiddish, is in Hebrew terms. The problem is when they make the Hebrew terms sound like Yiddish. I get it.
Either way, I'm going to say what?
Yeah, exactly. So you have the nefesh elokis, you have the godly soul. And the godly soul has its 10 koiches, its 10 powers. Chachma, bina, das, conception, contemplation, and application being the intellect. Chesed, gevura, tiferet, tantzach, yisaid, malchus, being the emotion. And it wants to serve Hashem, and it's great. And we said, if a person doesn't utilize, we spoke about the past couple of weeks, if a person doesn't utilize his divine powers, his capability to do good, so it goes down, and if he does teshuvah, or let's say he learned Torah for selfish motives, he gets to elevate it. Now, we made a statement last week, a very, very powerful statement, that what drives a Jew to do something against God? Now, there's different motivations. There's selfish motivations, which is animalistic, which is why the soul comes called nefesh habahamis. And then there's anti-godly motivations. So, for example, if you stuff your face with chocolate cake and it's a nice, delicious cake from Kosher Central, Aroma, Cafe Moran, fill in your bakery. I'm not trying to, maybe if I mention somebody, we can monetize it. Help me out here.
You know what? We should get these sponsored by Moran.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
You gotta start editing the videos, so more views, and then we'll monetize.
I don't know.
Work on the thumbnails. Yeah.
Exactly.
Translated to Spanish.
Then we'll have someone standing next to me doing, the whole...
We got you dubbed.
Yeah.
We got you dubbed, don't worry.
There you go. Yeah, try dubbing a class with the Hebrew and the Yiddish mixed in.
For sure.
So
It's pretty funny to see the reverse, like dubbed Japanese.
do you remember that story of this person was doing the sign language and was doing it, had no idea what they were doing?
Making it up.
Making it up, yeah.
I asked my friend, and she said, I watched it, he didn't say anything. He was just moving his hands.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows the difference except for the deaf people? Anyway,
Kids learn it now with the YouTube shows.
Yeah.
With some of the YouTube shows, they're doing like...
Right. That's right.
Things like
That's true. So, where does the motivation come to do something against Hashem? The motivation comes, we learned last week's parak, comes from forces external to a Jewish soul. The Jewish soul, we learned in chapter 2, is connected to God. And if you're connected to God, even if you're not aware of the holiness of that connection, you can't go against godly. Maybe you could do it selfishly, but go against God. So he said that comes from forces and influences outside. But now we're going to learn, how does one descend from selfish to improper? When I say selfish, I mean, again, doing it for self-serving purposes. And the answer is because the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, never comes over to a Yid and says, eat chazer, eat treif. Never comes over to a Yid and says, do this terrible thing. First it gets it to embellish and indulge in what it finds pleasurable. So I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychoanalyst, but I think, and I know Asaf's going to correct me if I'm wrong, most people who grow up to be killers and bad people, as kids, they torture animals, or there are signs earlier. No one just comes out of the room that kind of evil. They graduate. The same thing is
Even Asaph,
right? Yeah, even listen, Asa before he was 13, he was a good kid. 13 or some people say
I have a
15.
question.
Yeah.
Did Asaph ever think about making tshuva? Was there ever a moment where it was like
No.
contemplated?
Well,
No.
we learned about that.
We spoke about the previous class.
What?
That's what Asa of Harasha. Asa of the no.
This week's Parsha.
Yeah, the Asa of
Wait,
never.
You learned it in last week's Tanya class?
Mm.
No.
No, the class prior to this one.
Before this one.
Shut
Which
up.
you don't
No,
know.
see, no.
Shut up,
Ira, don't tell him now.
Dude, I
Now
just
you're gonna have to watch the
The
video.
lesson
then.
is still hanging around. I
Yeah.
tapped into like the celestial wireless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In this very space.
This is why
So Asaf was waiting in the front room, and
I've been hiding in your office
Exactly.
all afternoon.
yeah, for sure.
So,
No, the answer is no.
okay.
Esav never did.
Dude.
So the idea is like this. The idea is no one starts off being bad. The thing is, the way the Yetzer Hara works is, it gets you to do something for not necessarily bad motives, for selfish motives. That's how it slowly wears you down. It makes you coarse. It makes you thick. It makes you insensitive to the better things. And then once a person is insensitive, then it could tell you to do something terrible. So this is why the second soul, the natural soul, is called nefesh habahamis. Because an animal doesn't know when to stop. An animal only cares about its own self and embellishing and enhancing, and it should be more comfortable and anything better for it. So let's get in. Let's get into the nefesh habahamis. All right. The hine. So now the nefesh halakis dwells in the brain, because mind over matter usually means mind over intellect. Intellect over emotion usually means you're going to do the right thing. So impulsiveness, indulgence, and selfishness that has to do with your heart. So the place makai mishkan, nefesh habahamit, the place and the abode of the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, shema klipas nega, which we learned in the previous chapter, and in chapter 1 is from the klipa that could be elevated depending on how you act. It could be degraded and could be elevated. B'chol ish Yisrael, every single yid who belev is in the heart. Because why is it called an animal soul? Because it's emotional. B'chol hasmoli, in the left ventricle, shumoli dam, which is full of blood. Just like when you say a person is emotional, he's hot-headed, he's full of his blood. So the blood represents passion, and it says the verse in the book of Leviticus that a Jew is not allowed to consume any blood, right? You have to make sure you have to salt the meat. And we have to sprinkle the blood on the altar by a sacrifice, because it says there, ki adam hu nefesh, because the blood is the soul is in the blood. V'lechein, therefore, so because the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, is in the heart, kol ta'ivas, v'atiferes, all the lusts and all the boasting, the kas and the anger, v'demen, or all these other attributes, hein balev. Now we just came from a weekend of desire and impulse. What's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, spending Sunday, shopping Saturday,
Taco Tuesday.
Today was Travel Tuesday.
Travel Tuesday, giving, right? Yeah,
Didn't buy a thing.
nothing to buy.
No,
But
we bought the case for the gun.
but okay, I see you did buy something. See, Baruch Hashem. The otherwise we have to question your American citizenship. I mean, you can't.
I bought
I was
socks.
pushed by an American. That's what happened.
That's what happened, right?
Socks.
Almost got his green card over.
I bought an M4.
Right. So the
Congratulations.
I'm most American.
we're friends, right, Asaf? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. But the point is, the whole Black Friday. In fact, most of the American economy, or most of the world economy, is based on buying stuff that you don't need. Have you ever heard Jerry Seinfeld's thing? His whole shtick about stuff. Your house is meant to hold your stuff.
No.
What do you
That's
pull?
That's
not
not
Jerry
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. That's not Seinfeld.
It's Carlin.
No.
That's
Jerry
Carlin.
Seinfeld did something now recently.
Keep going.
Yeah, right?
Come on.
It's
the
Carlin.
better
He
this
also
one
did it
doesn't
like
matter.
recently.
And he said
Roll
your
it later.
And he
I know,
stole
I
it.
know.
He stole
he
it.
said your house is on display of your nicer stuff. When the stuff is not so nice, you put it in your closet or in the drawer. What it's really not nice, you put it in the garage, and then you throw it in the garbage. Our stuff is in a constant state of garbage. Just before, nicer. That's what the whole world is just to fulfill its impulse. Now, so how does it work? So now you want something. So where does the want start? From the heart. And from the heart, it spreads out to the whole body.
So not
So-
from the eyes?
Well, the heart and the eyes are connected to. That's why it says in Shema, do not stray after your heart. And what does it say? The eye sees and the heart wants. They're connected to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Lev chomem.
Chomed wants, desired.
So if I have some empty space in my heart, my eyes would go after these things, basically. That's what
It's interesting to say that there's a note from the previous Rebbe that says that foolish and bad thoughts come from a pusta cup, an empty head. It's when you're not occupied doing good, so you automatically occupied all stupid ideas. When you're busy being productive, automatically you're not doing anything stupid.
If you want something done, give it to someone busy.
That's true, right?
Seems like an
but in many
unrelated
ways,
topic.
we're asking like, what would get you to do something against God's will, right? Or against.
So now on page 135,
Yeah, hold on. Can I tell you a quick story that I just learned this week about the Rebbe? Your Rebbe.
our Rebbe, the Rebbe.
Your Rebbe. So I forgot who went into like they had a huge assignment, and they're like, I am overwhelmed with this, and there's like I'm actually asked to do this, and it's
Adin Steinsaltz.
It's yeah, Steinsaltz what needed to do it, and he's like, I don't know, it seems like a
It's
lot.
too
of-
much, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Talmud or something.
What,
I-
the classic story with like, put the goat in the house? And, like,
No.
blow
So-
the house up? And,
No,
like,
no, he
No,
said, no, he said,
he told him to take
he said,
another.
no, he
take
asked
another
her,
tour,
he
like,
asked,
Right,
he asked the
that's a
Rebbe,
classic thing, though.
he asked the Rebbe, which project should I drop? The Rebbe said, take on
Oh,
something
it's
else.
another one.
Yeah, add another thing.
Yeah.
And from
So-
there, the lesson.
No, but that's
Yeah.
a good classic story though.
That's
It's like
it.
after, but
Yeah. So, but it's not exactly this point, but yeah, similar.
Different story.
But the Alter Rebbe is going to say over here is how the physiology, how the brain works, how the body works. So when you're in control of yourself, so your mind dictates to your heart what's important, what to want. So for example, let's say you're in control of yourself. Let's say it's Black Friday or Cyber Monday, and something comes up. Computer now, $259 and whatever it is, and you think to yourself, I should buy a computer. Then you think to yourself, do I really need the computer? What happened? You stop wanting the computer? You do. I think
I
they'll.
already have
I
one.
think
Just
they'll.
because it's 2 years old doesn't mean I need another.
So
It works.
meaning the heart wants. What we're going to learn in Tanya is. What was that?
Sounds like you're talking trash.
Series anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
I mean, Alexa.
Yeah. So, meaning it all depends what is the impetus,
Right.
and what's the leader and what's the follower. If the heart is the leader, takes the lead, is the impetus, and say, I want this. Now that want, that desire, goes up to the brain and says, okay, how am I going to obtain that computer? It's not a question if I'm getting it. It's a question how I'm
Yeah.
getting it
And when?
and when.
For what
Well-
price?
What price? Exactly, but you should know what we're saying now is connected. Why is jealousy in the Ten Commandments? It seems like a very minor. Killing, I understand. Stealing, all right, I understand. Adultery, go on.
Can it lead to almost all those other things?
Exactly, because when you want something that you're not really supposed to have, you don't deserve, so you think to yourself, I'm supposed to have that watch. So I'll go to you and say, sell me the watch. You don't want some, okay, really the watch should be mine. He doesn't want to sell it, so I'll force it, but I'll steal it. Because one thing, it's the
So it's the gateway commandment?
it's the gateway drug.
I didn't say
Now
that.
we're talking
This
to-
is- Come on, you gotta
No,
be-
but it's also a spine, like commandment, right? Like
So what, I'm sorry?
like a spine. It's meant to put you in your place.
Right.
Like
You should
this
know,
is-
there's a book I have here. It's a great book. In that book, he takes the Ten Commandments and he sort of connects each one, why they're each one like 10 to 5, 10 to 1, how they're all interconnected. How it's very, very interesting. So one of the things he says that jealousy is really goes against, number one, not believing in God. Because if you believed in God and properly, and God gives you everything you need, so what are you jealous of? That you don't have? But that means you don't believe in God. I mean, have it somewhere. I think at least, unless someone walked away with the book. I mean, today I looked for a book and I couldn't find it. So,
Which one were you looking for?
the Going Kosher in 30 days. My wife was supposed to learn with somebody. I couldn't find the book. Anyway, so the idea is, the question you always have to ask yourself is, what's leading you? What's pushing you? Is it your intellect or is it your emotion? Because your intellect needs your emotion to do something, and your emotion needs your intellect to do something. That means if you only think about, yes, you get it, but you're not emotionally involved, you won't do it. And if your emotion is pushing you, and now you're utilizing your intellect, how do I obtain that? That's not good either.
You said previously that
Anything I said,
it all comes from intellect, like even emotion comes from a place of understanding or knowledge.
Well, yeah, yes. So there has to be a basic. So he's
So
going to get.
what came first, the chicken or the egg?
So, well, you're asking a very, very good question. So that there is the seed knowledge of what it is. So that the idea is latent in the intellect, but the desire to obtain it. So, for example, you can never desire ice cream if you have no idea what ice cream is. But you have the concept of ice cream. All of a sudden you say, I want ice cream, right? I really, really want ice cream. So then they think about, okay, now how do I get ice cream, right? Or it might be something, what would be nice to have for Shabbos, for dessert? Ice cream. So there the intellect is leading the emotion. Yes, but that's, yeah. So let's go. 135, the gam. So now after he has the emotion, after he has that initial burst of want, it goes to the brain and the head. By the way, note number 2 is very important, because the Rebbe points out the difference in text between here and in chapter 4, I believe it is. He says that the emotion merely spreads to all the other organs, but rises to the brain. When emotion is assimilated into intellect, it indeed rises and is elevated. Even in the case of the animal soul, where the intellect is merely the root tool of emotion. For the essential nature of intellect is more refined than that of emotion. With regard to the blood, the expression rises is again used specifically in connection to the brain. Okay, actually, I was referring to a different note. Sorry. L'chashev, going back up, the chashev, to think, and to contemplate, to meditate, bohen, l'schaka behen, and to become cunning in them. Kamoisha adam mekame belev. Kamoisha adam, sorry, mekame belev. Just like the blood is in the heart. Va'alev mispashit the chalevarim, and from the heart it goes to all the limbs. V'gam oila la moyach shabaration goes also the heart and the soul and the brain work together. So the soul is mainly in the brain, and the brain controls the body. So too the blood is in the heart, and from the heart it works together with the brain. So you have these two entities coexisting in very close quarters. You have the nefesh halakis, the godly soul, residing in the brain, and saying we should do this. You have the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, residing in the heart, and saying we should do this. And usually these two things don't get along. Because one guy wants to be number 10 for a million, and one guy wants to stay home and watch, I don't know, Tuesday night. No game on? I'm sure there's a game on. Or, right?
Only in your sports.
Huh?
Only in your sports.
Only in our sports. There you go. I'm sure there's something. Curling or something, right? Basketball.
Basketball, yeah.
So the nefesh lakis, its places in the head. And from there it goes to the rest of the limbs. Now, Alter Rebbe is now going to explain that the intellect, the nefesh halakis, has to be somewhat connected to the heart as well, because otherwise you wouldn't be excited about anything. There is a concept of being excited about something good. If the godly soul was only in the brain and not in the heart at all, then you would never get excited about anything good. There is a concept of getting excited for something good. There was a rabbi. His name was Rab Nachum Chernobyler. You ever heard of him? You've heard of Chernobyl before, no?
Chernobyl.
You've heard of Chernobyl. So before they decided to build a nuclear plant. You ever heard of the Tversky family? Abraham Tversky, the
Famous, familiar.
he's very famous. He was a psychologist. He wrote many books. Abraham Tversky. So before his family comes from the Hasidic dynasty, the Chernobyl or Hasidim. Rebbe. You haven't heard of Abraham Tversky?
I'm not even in. This is your thing.
No, I know, but
All
I'm,
these things, I'm familiar with everything that you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I've
Thank you.
listened to that.
he's quite famous.
Hasidism and
Right.
like that whole world. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories there.
Anyway, so Nachum Chernobyl was very heavy, and he and they went to ask him because he was very, very poor. How he was so heavy? He said because he gets so excited, he gets physically excited from doing a mitzvah, saying Amen Yehesh Birabba, that his body like so translated the spiritual energy into physical fat. I mean that's already a high level. So it's not that. So we know obviously that the brain needs blood, but it's not that the heart doesn't have any
No, but
connection.
seriously, Chernobyl, where'd the pie go?
No. Also a very, very special person.
Yeah.
So there is a place for intellect in the brain to have an effect on the emotion. The Gamba Lev and the divine soul also resides in the heart. Bechalal hayemini on the right side. She'ein baydam. Now, don't ask me. I'm not a biologist. I feel like I can't say those words anymore because now when you say I'm not a biologist, you know what I'm talking about? When someone
please
when the woman was being interviewed in Congress, they asked him what's a man, what's a woman.
Oh,
She said, "I'm not a biologist."
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not a biologist, so I don't know what the Alter Rebbe means over here when he says there's no blood in the right side of the heart. Exactly what he means.
Katanji Jackson.
Oh, that's
Right.
that's what it was.
More liars. Okay.
Like it says, Lev Chacham Liminoi. A wise person, the heart of a wise person is in the right. A foolish person is on the left. So now the question is like this: what is controlling you? So when you appreciate something good, and now that I was going to explain on page 136, when you appreciate godliness, when you appreciate something special, you get emotionally attached to it. You get excited, right? So let's say for example, Asaf just got his fancy M4 or ordered his fancy M4. How long does it take for you to get it?
My name is Robert.
Robert?
Robert?
Robert got.
Ted Kaczynski is here.
What are you talking about? When did he buy again?
I mean, so you pick
Definitely not fertilizer.
right.
I told you I got a stomach virus.
Stomach virus, chas v'shalom.
I
Anyway,
ate too many M&Ms.
M&Ms. There you go. There are four exactly. Four M&Ms exactly.
All four of them.
Exactly. So
Actually, ate two because it's M, so two,
So-
Yes.
4 M's.
So they-
That's right. And I was allergic. They had peanuts in it. It was a peanut.
there you go.
And then all done.
Robert ate too many M&Ms. Moving on.
Moving on. So the idea is when you appreciate something, you get excited about it. Why is that? Is because some intellect is connected with your emotion. Your intellect is not devoid of emotion. A person whose intellect is devoid of emotion is not a healthy person. A person with only intellect, no emotion, is not a healthy person. I mean, some things in life should excite you. When you contemplate about something on the more beautiful things in life, you hear, let's say you're like music, you hear a nice piece from, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff. It moves you. Your heart has to be made of stone, not to be. And listen, you can listen to, some country something, but when
You said that in such a way that it almost seemed derogatory.
If you're working out, really good music to listen to is Beethoven's Ninth, the second movement, the Scherzo. That'll get you moving.
I always go for War Pigs, Black Sabbath, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but that's a little slow. This is much faster. See, the thing is, I know what he's talking about.
Yes,
know.
just the deep
Okay.
conversation
Rabbi,
devolved.
can you repeat your sentence? Last sentence.
Beethoven was playing a Black Sabbath. So the idea is when you appreciate something special, it moves you. It moves you emotionally. If something doesn't move you emotionally, something's wrong. In fact, in the chapters of 23, 24, 25, around there, Adira was going to spend good 6, 7, 8 chapters going to talk about, let's say you're thinking or you're doing the right thing and it's not having the desired effect. Like there's an old story, I don't know if it's true or not. There was a guy standing by the, let's call it the Mona Lisa. It was some famous painting. And he says, I don't see it. What's the big deal? Before it was ruined by one of these
Climate change activists.
Climate change, exactly.
Okay.
They said, "What? Didn't someone throw a pie at the Mona Lisa this year in the summer?"
Yes, but come on.
Yeah.
I gotta get to like.
So,
The Mona Lisa pigs at Bill Gates.
so he's sitting there, and he says out loud, "I don't get it. What's the big deal? It's just a painting." So standing in the room was a curator or an artist. He said, "Listen, Shmendrik, the Mona Lisa is not on trial here. You are. Meaning the Mona Lisa is good. If you can't appreciate it, that's a you problem. So if something is good, it should move you. If it doesn't move you, Alter Rebbe is going to spend a lot of time dedicating to what's wrong and how to cure it. But let's say a person contemplates on the greatness of God, right? And what happens when he contemplates how the Eibishter created? And by the way, the davening, the daily davening is structured in this way, right? Baruch Shamar, God said, and there was a world. And then Ashrei, and then Hashem created the mountains and everything else, and Hashem created the luminaries. And after all that, after He created all these things, who does He love? He loved our forefathers, and He gave us a Torah, and He chose us. And He chose us with love, and that's how you say Shema. Otherwise, how do you say Shema? How come? What's the main parts of davening? Shema and Amida. Why do we need all the other fluff? Because usually people come late to minyan.
That was good.
No, but the whole idea is because you can't walk into Shema. You can't. I think.
You gotta feel the 100 times now, blessing Hashem every day.
But that's the
what you
morning.
do.
That's not part of davening though.
But if you do Pesukei Zimra, if you mean
Pesukei Zimra is only one bracha. Baruch Shamar Yishtabach. It's one bracha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's the Amida. So I once was having a discussion with this guy. I don't know if I told the story before. He was telling me that he was at a synagogue and the rabbi was giving a class, and the time of the prayer was late, and by the time he gave it, and he allowed to daven. I said, but when you were learning Torah, it prepared you to daven. It means now that you learned, you can daven properly. No, but because the time, and he kept going out of it. I said, but when you learn, and that serves as a preparation for davening, and you're davening, your prayer is a different prayer. Because finally I got frustrated. And my tongue went loose a little bit. I went, beep. No. I said, you know what your problem is? I tell this guy, this is a religious guy. I said, you have no idea who God is. He says, are you telling me I don't believe in God? I said, yeah, no, you believe in God. You just have no idea who you believe in. So he didn't like that. So the conversation was
Does he still talk to you?
I haven't seen him in a while. I should ask him. I'll make sure to call him before Yom Kippur. Click.
But
But
make sure he puts a donation for another. If you pick up the phone,
I know.
you might as well.
I know I called you a heretic, but
It's a good way to resolve it.
Right, exactly.
Giving tzedakah.
I don't believe in you, but I believe in your money. But the idea is like this: when you contemplate on God's greatness, that's how. When you say v'ahavta, you should love. How are you supposed to love God? The thing, the Shema, love God. How are you supposed to love God? He's invisible. You ever see George Carlin's digging thing about God? They want you to believe that there's an invisible man in the sky, and he told you about these 10 things you can't do. Right? You ever hear this thing? It's very, very funny as a religious person. But think about it. How are you supposed to love this invisible man in the sky? He's so beyond. Today's Hayom Yom. The Alter Rebbe, the author, quotes the Baal Shem Tov. He says something crazy. He said, "You have to love every Jew, even a Jew you never met. How are you supposed to love a Jew you never met?
It's hard enough to love the Jews that you have met.
Right? Sometimes,
Kind of what makes it harder.
yeah. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's easier to love Jews you never met. That's because I never. Right. That's why it's always everyone's doing things for Israel, right? I actually asked a guy for a donation for the community. He said, "Oh no, Rabbi, I don't care about the community right now. I'm doing everything for Israel." I said, "Yeah, but what about our show?" you know that joke. The difference between, I tell this joke a million times too, the difference between Jewish anti-Semites and Gentile anti-Semites. You know this one? Go over to a Gentile, says, "What do you think of the Jewish people?" "I hate the Jewish people." Says, "But your dentist is Goldberg." "Goldberg. Of course, good guy." "And your accountant?" "Accountant Horowitz." "Horowitz. And your lawyer Rubenstein?" "Rubenstein!" Right? Go over to a Jew. So, "What do you think about the Jewish people?" "Am Yisrael, I love the Jewish people. Am Yisrael, Chai, Eretz Yisrael." "What about the guy sits next to you in shul?" "Thief." and the rabbi, he's a schmuck, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't know a damn thing. I don't even know I got the job, right? Gentiles hate the Jewish people, love the Jews. Jewish people, Jews, we love the Jewish people, hate the individuals, right? But the idea is because we're all one. But it's not easy to love an invisible God. But you have to think about. That's exactly what you have to do. That's why davening is structured the way it is. You think about God and all that He does. And we're going to get into the Kabbalistic terms for it. Mamalik Kalaman and Soviv Kalaman. He filled the world. He's beyond the world. Whatever. And what happens there? Hashem Krish Priyesh. And what a result of that contemplation is he has a love like a burning fire. Mislavesh belev maskilim. It burns in the heart of the discerning of the understanding person. Meaning because he understands, because he's so, because it's not lost on him. It's not lost on him. So we see when Hashem talks to Avram, we see when Hashem talks to Avram, or Avram talks to Hashem, Avram keeps saying, "I'm nothing," and please, God, it's because Avram understands just who he is that he's speaking to. So he keeps saying, please don't mind, excuse me, I'm nothing. It's the people that don't appreciate are very coarse about it. So when a person understands, and he'll have this unbelievable burning, understands and reflects, bedatam asher b'moichem, with the knowledge that's in his brain. That means he learned it, and knowledge, by the way, das. If you remember, we explained in chapter 3. What's das? What's knowledge? Knowledge isn't a concept you read about and like what's the most dangerous person? Person who knows a little bit about a lot of things, right? Right. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, right? Das means that knowledge is a part of you. Das means knowledge means it's not something you read, but something you thought about and you took some time for it to dwell inside your brain. And it's something that's related to you. Right? If I went to you and I told you should know that the Eibishter created Ak, Adam Kadmon, and in Pnimis of Adam Kadmon, I throw out all these terms, and even if I translate and everything else, okay. Now, do you love the Eibishter? No, because it doesn't relate to you. But if, let's say, you go over to a kid, he likes lollipops. He loves lollipops, and you go to the kid, you say, "You love lollipops? Yeah. You really want a lollipop? Yeah. You know who made this lollipop? Hashem created the whole world. Why? So you can make a bracha on this lollipop." Well, Hashem's a good guy. Meaning, you have to make it relate to you at whatever level is your level. When you make it relate to you, that's why when we wake up in the morning, you ever think about we wake up in the morning, we're very selfish. Why come we don't start with Shema? Wake up in the morning, we start talking about going to the bathroom and the fact that we could walk. What kind of an idiot are you? The first thing you do, wake up in the morning, you think about yourself?
Yes.
No.
And I thank God that I can get out of bed
Yeah.
and that I can make it to the bathroom.
No,
So-
but that's your relationship with God. The fact that you can go to the bathroom, and the fact that you can stand up straight, meaning
Yeah.
the fact that wait 1 second. What's greater? You go into the bathroom, or the fact that there's a sun in the sky? I think the sun is greater, right? It's because no. It's not bad. It's because when you wake up in the morning, you feel yourself. So to go to a person and say, think about, the luminaries and
Stars
say,
and the moon. Yeah.
I'm not holding there yet. I can stand up straight. Thank God. I can go to the bathroom. Thank God. Because when you wake up in the morning, you feel yourself. So right away you're doing. So you're awake. Thank God you're awake. Yeah, you can stand. You can see. You have clothing. can go to the bathroom. Your back doesn't hurt, whatever it is.
Well, the back's still.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, you have shoes, whatever it is. I'm saying the fact that you have purpose in life. All these things. So when you wake up in the morning, you're working outward. You're centered. The center of gravity is yourself, and you work. You work outward. So the first thing you got to do is you got to contemplate to something that relates to you. That's what you do when you make a bracha. When you make a bracha before you eat, doesn't mean you're not hungry. You're hungry, and you want to eat, and you find the food desirable. But you stop and you think that the food was here for a purpose, which means I'm here for a purpose, which means I'm going to gear my whole eating, my whole day. I'm going to channel it some way. But to sit there and say, the guy says, now Hanukkah's coming. We're going to have a competition. Who can have the most donuts? We should have a chart. Right? You go to, especially the first night of Hanukkah, right? Everybody wants a donut. By the second night, you're ready. Okay, too much. The first night of Hanukkah, you bring out the donuts, and it was with custard. Imagine I go to you, say, you see this donut? It doesn't exist. It's a disgusting donut. What are you talking about, Rabbi? It has chocolate, and it has sprinkles, and it has custard. You know what I'm saying? It has dulce de leche, whatever you find. Oreo. You go to Aroma, by the way. Have all these fancy donuts. It's like $3.50, $5 donut. Yeah. That was last year. Now with inflation.
Oh, $4.
So make sure you bring
If you're
it.
lucky.
Yeah. Huh? So
I'll stick to latkes.
but to go.
They're $6 a piece now.
That's if you buy there. I'll make my own.
I remember when I was a kid. At the Shanda.
You know how much matzo balls that?
Yeah,
For
but
$6, I can buy a bag of potatoes and make my own.
there you go. So the point of the matter is to go to somebody and say the donut doesn't taste good. The donut is not attractive and delectable and desirable. It's a losing battle. It's not. In fact, this is one of the questions the Alter Rebbe came to answer. Remember, all the way in the beginning, in the introduction to the class, we spoke about the Alter Rebbe came to answer a question, which is, on one hand, we feel the physical world as very real and attractive. On the other hand, we feel very empty, but that's all we do. So we say, okay, I'm going to be a spiritual person, but then we have to eat. So how do we balance this pull for the material world with the pull the pull for meaning in life?
Badly.
Huh?
I do it badly.
Well, get in line, right? The what the Rambam talks about this. So this expands upon this is you got to relate to the Eibishter, got to relate to God in something that relates to you, something you find desirable. Find the godliness in something that you find desirable. It means, let's say, whatever it is, you like salsa, you like donuts, you like whatever it is, you stop and you make a bracha. Many times, we think of it, what's the big deal? It's a throwaway blessing. Or when you finish eating, you thank God after you eat. To us, it's whatever, it's one of these things. No, it's not. It's not. Because to you, eating is important, right? At least it is to me. Sometimes it's too important.
Yeah.
But the idea is.
You love that chicken?
Yeah, exactly. but the idea is, if you find something related to you, and you find the push, you find the godliness behind it, and the fact that it was put here, now you begin to love whoever put that chicken there, right?
You begin to look like the Chernobyl.
You're all good. No, if you could look like the Chernobyler for saying Amen Yesh Merabah, you're in good terms. V'chein, and similarly, simchas levav b'tferes Hashem v'hadar goinoi. Another deeper way for the heart's emotion is the gladness of apprehending the beauty of God and the majesty of His glory. And the Alter Rebbe uses a line from Kohelet, from Ecclesiastes, where it says, "A wise man, his eyes are in his head." And a foolish man, where are his eyes? Eric, don't answer.
Everywhere else.
Stomach.
The point is, a wise man can perceive what's really important. So it says maskila when he perceives, when he gazes, biyikara de malka, at the glory of Eibishter, Tiferes Gdulosai, and the beauty of his unfathomable, Adein Cheker, infinite and boundless, V'tachlis Kamavur Makamachal, like it says anywhere. When you go, let's say, to the Grand Canyon, you go to Zion, you go to a national park, you sit there, and your breath is taken away. Like, look at this world. The Eibishter made. I mean, it's you cannot be moved by it. So what's happening here is that your intellect, your understanding, your perception is driving the emotion. So now, if we were to say, we're about to lose lights. If we were to say that only the nefesh habahamis dwells in the heart, and only the nefesh halakis dwells in the brain, then you would never be able to be excited emotionally about something godly. And the mind can never control the heart. Once the heart wanted something, the mind can never control it. But because there is some godly soul embedded in the heart, in the right side of the heart, so there is a possibility for you to get excited for something holy and lofty. Let's turn the page. I lost my place. Where are we? No, I didn't lose my place. Here you go. Right, 138. Okay. And not only love, but all the other emotions. So, for example, fear and awe. When you're in front of something, great, when you understand.
Alexa, Genesis 1.
I don't think you spoke loud enough. Alexa, Genesis 1.
Say like a man.
Why don't you just change the timer by 5 minutes?
Because then they wouldn't have fun.
But of course.
This is for their.
You want to know why?
entertainment.
It's because I only think about it on Tuesdays at 9:30. You gotta remind me a different day.
Can't you tell her to change it like right away?
Right now, you could do that.
I don't know. Have a program into the Alexa app. It's
I have
easy.
an app.
Yeah, I got an app, exactly.
I have a guy.
I got a guy that does that. So now, so this is where we're at. This is where we're at, and this is where we're going to end off for tonight, and we'll lay the groundwork for next week. So you have the heart. You have the heart, which one's donuts, and why? Because donuts are good.
Right.
That's it. You don't have to explain to the heart why do I want a donut. Donut, good, right? Apple, not as good. It's very simple. That's why we eat donuts, not apples. I mean,
I like apples.
get out.
Apples too, especially this time of year.
So then you have the brain, and the brain says, donuts! What donuts? Donuts are garbage. What are you wasting your time with the shtus? So the problem is, if the brain lived in one place, and the heart lived in another place, and the brain could do what it wants, and the heart could do what it wants, the world would be a very organized place. The problem is God, in his sense of humor, made the Odd Couple. The show before the Odd Couple was a show, God made the show. It's called You. He put the sophisticated brain, godly soul, in one place, and he put the piggish, indulgent heart, and they live together. And they only have one mouth, one hands. That means either the mouth is eating a donut or it's learning Torah. Either the mouth is consuming something for good purposes or just doing it for indulgent purpose.
Is Adam considered a Jew?
No.
In the Torah, in that part, I've mentioned to you in the past, but when Adam explains to God that the soul that you put in me, where he refers to the two souls, like there was a conscious soul.
Adam doesn't say anything like
Or
that.
that
Eov says, "Nefashos asher b'asi," the souls that you made.
So so from that line, thank you for correcting me, but is Job a Jew?
That's an argument. So, but let's get back to Adam. Adam had a godly soul, a nefesh halakis,
Can you speak English, please?
which would.
Anyways, keep going, because I want to understand.
No, I think it's just.
I always understood
Hold on.
that line that I'm referring to specifically to hint at the fact that this
Yeah.
two soul
Yeah, so we quoted this.
existence.
So we quoted this. We quoted this in chapter 2, the line from Eov, from Job. It says, I created two souls, which means that there are multiple souls.
Well, no, that's not the line that I'm talking about, though.
He
That
breathed
yeah.
soul into me.
the soul that you breathed into me is a line that I'm referring to. That's not from Job.
Adam doesn't say anything like that. I'm trying to think who you.
We'll pull up the line, but
Okay.
that's is specifically God, the soul that you breathed into me is the line.
But that we say in davening every day, right in the beginning of the siddur.
But my point is that the reference is
Alakai, neshama shenasat bi barasa ata barasa ata nefach bi.
what it references is that there was an animal soul having a discourse with Hashem, acknowledging that he breathed another soul into him.
I'm not. You have to pull it up. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I just want to touch on one point you mentioned. Adam wasn't a Jew, although he had a godly soul. Noach wasn't a Jew, although he had a godly soul. So Noach, Shem, Aver, Seshalach, all these people had godly souls. Because to be a Jew means a mission by God to make the world a dwelling place, to refine the world. That's what it means to be.
I think that there's my idea of it
Yeah.
is anyone that was celebrating Passover before it happened. And I don't know how many generations before Abraham were doing it, but I know Abraham was.
Right. I mean, I don't know if.
Pretty sure it's just him. Then from him on.
And so
Like
that's
Abraham, Yitzchak,
because
and
like
Yaakov.
when I found out that they were celebrating before, I'm like, maybe that's the Jewish.
But it was
before
weird.
they
though,
were-
Last week's
because they
parsha-
weren't necessarily celebrating it. They just knew there was like something.
knew.
They're eating
They were
matzah.
Jewish. In my mind,
They're eating matzah.
Like, that's
But
the.
it's not that they necessarily knew that it's like this is Pesach or whatever. It's like they know there's like
So
something about it.
Chassidus explains that the 15th of Nisan was always a special day.
Right,
For
that's
who?
what I'm saying. They
For
know
who?
that there's something.
For everybody.
That, whoever celebrated it in my
Meaning,
like,
no,
logic
meaning for
is the
for the
ones
everyone
that-
for everyone else, the
Sure,
15th of
but-
Nisan was a regular day.
Right.
Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they existed on a
no one
totally.
before Abraham celebrated it.
Whatever. You
I
just
don't know. I don't know. I can find. I don't think.
Did
So.
you find out? Really? Is there a way to find out?
I mean, I can look into it.
But yeah, like they knew that the day was like something significant.
No, but
they
it-
celebrated it.
But no, but they ate matzah. So, for example,
But
so
why?
the- because they knew it was the mitzvah of the day. So in Parshas Toldos, when Rivka tells Yaakov
Yeah.
that she to bring a goat to slaughter, right? One of the reasons why it's goat because one of the animals you could bring for a carbon Pesach, for a Pesach sacrifice, is a goat. And when Avram serves the three guests, he serves the matzah. It was Pesach.
Right, with the time,
And we also have matzah also with Yaakov brings matzah to Yitzchak. So yeah, they definitely did.
But
Definitely.
it's not like they like specifically knew. It was just more that like they were
Correct.
tapped into the energy and they knew that like this is something that's going to be done, so
Right.
we're going to do it now.
So last week's parsha, by the way, according to Kabbalah, last week's parsha we just read is probably the most Kabbalistic parsha in the whole day. That and Bereshis. That Bereshis is probably the most Kabbalistic parsha. But we have with the whole spotted sheep, striped sheep, and all that,
Right.
speckled. But the Kabbalah talks about the striped sheep that represents the stripes of the tefillin. The Yaakov put on tefillin. But when Yaakov put on tefillin, he used the pieces of wood to make stripes, but the pieces of wood were imbued with holiness.
Right.
That was reserved for only after Sinai. But this is what, going back to conclude, this is the problem, the dichotomy between spirituality and materialism. And how do we balance the two? The intellect and the heart are going in two different ways. Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Bahamas are going in two different ways. And the Alter Rebbe is going to quote a line from Yaakov and Esav. Either Yaakov's up or Esav's up. They can't coexist at equal point. Huh?
That was the bracha, no?
Yeah, that he gave
No,
us.
that's not a no. What he quotes is when the prophet tells Rivka,
No,
Right.
no.
"Uloi milam yemetz."
That's what
Yeah.
Isaac.
They're always
says.
gonna.
No, shame.
No. You're referring to.
before.
You're referring to Yitzchak telling Esav when he doesn't behave, you can throw off.
No,
But the verse he's gonna say,
But yeah,
told
no,
him
you're
when
right.
she's
Yeah.
pregnant.
right? You say, you're right, but "Uloi milam yemetz." There's always gonna be sisa. That's so either you're being productive and directive in your actions,
Right.
or you're being indulgent. You can't have it either way.
Yeah.
And the worst thing you can do is to fool yourself. You know, to sit there and eat a custard donut and say, this is a healthy snack. That's when you know you have a real problems.
Yeah.
All right, questions, comments? No, Eric? Do the honors.